Hi, I'm Mark McDonald, world-renowned nutrition and fitness expert and New York Times best-selling author. I've spent my career launching global movements and helping empower millions of people to live with food freedom. This is what the NIL House Nutrition is all about, your epicenter for all things nutrition.
Welcome to the NIL House Nutrition, your epicenter for all things nutrition. Now, we are going to have fun on the show today. We are talking about soda, gut health, blood sugar balance, but most importantly, how you can truly live your greatest health. And we're going to expose some of the hottest diets on the market right now. Now, Post Malone, who I love his music, by the way, just talked about how he dropped 60 pounds. And he attributes so much of that to actually taking out a soda. Let's watch a clip.
You look great, man. You said you lost 60?
Like 60. I was like 240. Now I'm like 185.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
And you did it just by cutting out soda?
Yeah, I don't drink.
A lot of shows.
Yeah, like shows, soda. Soda's so bad.
It's so bad.
It's so bad, but it's so good. I'll have a soda. I'm a bad boy, and I'll have a Monster
Every now and
Energy.
then.
But Celsius is so good, too. Have you had one of those?
Yeah, I have. They're good.
It's so
good.
good.
The key to those things is just every now and then. That's the thing. You know, every now and then you reward yourself with a Coca-Cola.
Yes,
You're like, this is nice.
Well, I love when he said soda's so bad. Now, you know, so much we talk about is soda's it's not good or bad. It's just we educate here. Soda is like drinking liquid sugar. So let's bring in my co-host. She's got some stats for you. Carrie Lapoli, welcome to the show. And I know when you think about Post Malone, it's when you talk about dropping 60 pounds, we know it's not just when you remove soda. We know that it's not just taking off Monster or things like that. But I know you have some stats because you are the stat queen. Give us a lowdown of how much sugar he was actually drinking every single day.
For him to, drop that much just by giving up soda tells me he was drinking a lot of soda, because I'm looking at some stats right here, Mark. A can of Coke has 39 grams of sugar in it. A can of Monster Energy drink has 55 grams of sugar. And when the daily recommended intake is that it should be no more than about 24 grams all day, that's a lot. And while he's calling it bad, we always say, food isn't good or bad. It serves your body or serves your soul. But we know that it doesn't serve our body. And so I'm super excited because, the gut check expert herself, Dr. Anna Toker, is here to be able to share with us exactly what does that liquid sugar do to our bodies. And so we'll never tell you what you can't have, but we will educate you so you can make your own choices. So I'm super excited. Dr. Anna is here. Dr. Anna, help us understand. Are you there? Oh,
I am here.
Okay, good.
Hold on, Dr. Anna. Let's talk about just from sugar.
Yes.
That is a lot of sugar, right? Like, Carrie, those stats, I'm just sitting here and I'm alarmed. And we know we teach blood sugar. We know what it's doing to our blood sugar, where you're over-releasing insulin. It makes your body store fat. It crashes you, causes chaos in your entire physiology. But from a digestive system, it seems to be even worse. What is that? What does it do to the gut?
The first thing that it does is an inflammatory response. So granulated sugar is an inflammatory molecule. So it will actually naturally select for certain organisms that absolutely love this pure sugar. They grow in exponential format. They give you a little bit of a serotonin bump to make you feel better. So this is one of the reasons it's so addicting. It's not just the sugar spike, it's the serotonin positive feedback you get from that. One of the really dangers of modern soda is that it's not made out of sugar at all. It's made out of high fructose corn syrup, which your body absolutely cannot digest. You can turn it into fat, and that's pretty much it. So the sugar content of that is alarming for your teeth, for the lining of your intestinal tract, for your blood sugar, for your neurologic system. So there's a series of different reasons. It's probably not the best choice.
And when we think about just from the point of the chemicals that's in soda as well and all of that. So when you take soda, so we always talk about, we want to give Post Malone a standing ovation, because when anytime someone does something positive, that's what we want. But we don't want you to think that you transform your health just by removing Monster, soda, and other things. Maybe even the Celsius is another energy drink. But Carrie, we talk so much about these myth busters. And I know, when we think about this, and Dr. Anna, we're going to rapid fire. Karen and I are going to go back and forth with you.
Okay.
We hear about keto, low carb, low carb, low carb. Carbs are bad. So now we go from sugar to avoid all the carbs. And we know that also causes chaos. Give us a myth buster on why low carb alone and removing carbs causes so many problems in your body.
Well, carbohydrates are required for all of your energy in your body. So you can't go to zero carbohydrates. That's really not physiologically possible. And so when you replace those carbohydrate calories, you're almost always replacing it with fat calories. And a lot of these people in the keto diet are not exactly paying attention to the kind of fat they're putting in their diet as a substitute. And so that has its own health challenges as well. The keto diet was never designed for weight loss, and it was never designed to be long-term. It's a very specific diet with a very specific seizure reason. There's kids with seizures that need to be on this specific diet. So I think that is a diet craze. It became crazy and I'm not 100% sure why. But what they're trying to achieve with this diet is to go into a fat burning module. But when you eat that much fat, it's hard for you to burn your own fat when you're consuming nothing but fat. So it's better. You're better off balancing things with a balanced diet instead of trying to hack into physiology. Your body is smarter than your little carb calculator. It's all that it boils down to.
Yeah, and because we go down rabbit holes when we're trying to lose weight, and that's exactly what happens with keto. All right, let's talk about intermittent fasting. Don't get me started, but I want you to get started. Let's go.
Don't get Carrie started.
I am.
Okay, so now intermittent fasting is, okay, this is good, bad, and ugly. Okay, so there are studies that show that intermittent fasting in research animals where the scientist is controlling what the animal gets to eat when it gets to eat, shows that those animals can have an improved longevity and can have increased diversity of microorganisms in their microbiome. And that sounds fantastic, except humans are not animals being fed by scientists. When we haven't eaten for 16 hours, we're not exactly reaching for a carrot when the bell goes off and it's time for you to start to eat. Right. So people who are doing the intermittent fasting have a tendency to eat all the wrong foods in that little window of time, thus negating the concept of the intermittent fasting is the first issue. The second is when you've gone a long time without eating, that drives up a stress response. And the stress response is extremely damaging to your microbiome. So yes, if you're someone who could care less about food, whether or not you're losing weight, you don't have an anxiety issue over food or a food hang up whatsoever, intermittent fasting may actually be a helpful thing to do. Societally, ancient cultures had fasting intermittently for religious reasons. We have fasting. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to intermittent fast because you have sort of a I need to lose weight mentality, it has a tendency to play against you because you're the kind of person who's always stressing about your food. And it's that stress that sets off a brain gut microbiome problem that can lead to more trouble than it's worth.
The myths have been busted. I love it. We got Dr. Anna in the house. After the break, we are doing a deep dive into physiological homeostasis. Don't stress. It just means balancing your body. We're going to go into blood sugar, and you don't want to go because our last segment, we have a very special guest for you, and we're going to talk about your mind and your neurological homeostasis. This is a show that's going to transform your health. See you after the break.
I definitely eat every 3 to 4 hours because that's true. I can always tell my metabolism's working harder when you get hungry. That means things are working. And to feed yourself a little bit rather than overeat, which most people do, and most people don't realize that they're overeating. The energy level that you create for the day is so much better, and you feel so much better. Everybody knows what it feels like to overeat and be tired, and then your blood sugar spikes. And so he taught me all about my blood sugar and all about feeding yourself constantly. I mean, I know I have so many friends in my life who don't eat until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and they wonder why their body body's not tight or toned. And it's like, that's why. Because, you're storing fat. I didn't know that. I didn't know a lot of stuff when I met him.
And Chelsea looks leaner to me now than when she was 27. So she's leaner, she's
Nice
tighter,
job.
she has more education.
Nice
and
job.
she lives it. And that's what I think people, that's what I want everyone to know about her, is that as she does, and we talk about this, sorry, I hit you again there. But the whole thing is that people, when they're busy, when they skip meals, they think they can manage their weight. But as you move into your late 20s, your 30s, and your 40s, your body starts to hold. So you have to implement these right philosophies to actually ignite your metabolism and reduce that cellulite.
Candy, eating whenever you want, eating right before, you go to bed, but it's not something that's not healthy. And that's another thing that he, taught me to eat within an hour of waking up and within an hour of going to bed, which is always a nice treat to know, I have to eat again before I sleep.
Come on. Carrie and Dr. Anna, to see Chelsea and Mike Alanos, like two of my closest friends. Chelsea was, just a big shout out to Chelsea Handler. She wrote the book forward of Body Confidence. We launched that book on her show, which took it to a #1 New York Times bestseller. Like, it took it to immediately a bestseller. And she's always been that person that has lived this. And I met her back in the early 2000s. And, this is where we talked about low carb and fasting. She was inundated with that. We're in Los Angeles. And I think that's what people don't understand, that yes, you can eat the foods that you love. Yes, you can live with food freedom. And it all starts with understanding how to balance your blood sugar, which we have Carrie Lapoli. And then you got Dr. Anna, who's the gut check queen. So, Carrie, let's do some rapid fire, starting with you. How do you balance your blood sugar? What's the way we do this?
Well, let's talk about why it's so important. It's really the foundation of our body, and our body's going to try to balance its blood sugar in one of two ways, either on its own or with food. And the more and more we have no idea how to balance our blood sugar with food, the more and more we're on this blood sugar roller coaster, the more your body has to try to balance it on its own. And it gets, when you're in your early 20s, maybe you can handle it a little bit more, but the older we get, the more and more sensitive our blood sugar is, and it's just trying to do all the work on its own. And so in order to balance our blood sugar with food, that's where we talk about PNC3. When we're eating a protein, a fat, and a carb together, think about it. They're macronutrients. Macro, there's only 3. That means big, right? Important. They were actually meant to be eaten together. They're synergistic. Carbs spike our blood sugar. We know that, but they also fuel our brain and give us energy. And so to mitigate that spike, we have that protein with it. And that will kind of like balance that out. And then the fat, well, it helps us to really digest that carb and that protein to be able to cushion our organs and slow down our digestion when they're working together. And like Chelsea said, we're eating within an hour of waking up, a PFC meal every 3 hours, and an hour before going to bed. It sounds so counterintuitive, but I always say, if we're thinking about putting our body at a deficit, like that caloric deficit, what thrives in a deficit? Nothing. But fueling our body to keep ourselves balanced means our body doesn't have to work so hard. And then we put ourselves at less and less risk for premature aging, for metabolic disease, and for weight gain.
Okay, now, Carrie, before we go, and you're going to give some examples of how simple it can be to actually balance your blood sugar. Dr. Anna, let's go on the gut. Let's talk about our body's second brain, our gut body, our gut check. Mm-hmm. Why is balancing your blood sugar the best thing for your overall digestive system?
Well, they kind of play hand in hand. As Carrie was alluding to, the body is full of these biofeedback mechanisms. So you're not smarter than the body, by the way. You really cannot hack into this system. So instead of thinking in terms of, I'm going to hack into it, why don't we go back 10,000 years to sort of very rudimentary life when you would eat something, you eat a natural something. It's going to have protein and fat attached to it. And as a general rule, because you got vegetation lying around, you're throwing around some vegetation at the same time. So when these things are consumed together, your body sort of naturally knows what to do with it. If you eat those things in excess, so for example, carbohydrates, boom, all at once, you wind up, and again, not to harp on these little bacteria, but you got to feed them first. And they know what they like to eat, and there's certain bacteria that like one thing over other things. So if you eat a non-diversified meal, all of the same thing all at once, you're really going to overpopulate a particular organism. That is going to cause inflammation of the lining of the intestinal tract. That is going to cause a negative body response. And that negative body response, your body's trying to fight it. and no longer has the energy to absorb things properly and control the blood sugar. So, I mean, they really do go hand in hand. You're not going to control your blood sugar unless you calm down your intestinal tract. And, right, and so to calm down the intestinal tract, you do a balanced meal, protein and a fat, carbohydrate together, right? So we're not talking about a bunch of refined sugar as a carbohydrate. We're talking about a veggie or a fruit or something.
It's just inspiring to see Chelsea, Carrie, and Dr. Anna all in the same segment. Because let me tell you, like, this is why we do this show. People are struggling. People are looking for hope, and people don't know what to do. And we do this show, and we show up every day at 1% to empower you to live your greatest health, because you can. You can understand food. It takes a little bit of work in the beginning, but then you become your own nutrition boss. Our next segment, we're going to dive into neurological homeostasis. Right here, I got something called Super Patch. It's called Liberty. Exactly what we want. We're going to talk about how we can tap into the systems of your body in the most simple way to activate, and the connection of blood sugar and gut health by this. And you're going to meet the founder and, of course, my buddy, JD himself. See you after the break. Let's dive into what I love about everything you teach is science. You talk about science and you dive into on this. And we always talk about this mind-body connection, and we teach the physiological homeostasis about balancing blood sugar. But what I love about the Liberty Patch and what I love about the science that you teach, it's all about this neurological homeostasis. What does that mean when someone says that?
Listen, Mark, what you're saying is really the holy grail, as far as we're concerned, a Super Patch, about wellness. It's all about equilibrium. It's all about homeostasis. It's all about balance. We all know this. Every system in our body is fighting, striving, trying to get to homeostasis, right? And our approach is, let's start with the central nervous system. Let's start with our autonomic system. So we're putting the sympathetic and the parasympathetic in balance. And what this amazing Liberty Patch does, and what the studies show, is that within seconds of putting it on, we see this amazing waterfall of equilibrium hit our autonomic system, our central nervous system, and it starts operating at its factory settings, right? And as soon as we have neurological homeostasis and our autonomic homeostasis, there's going to be a waterfall of wellness and performance and health that's going to be manifested in our physiology. That's how this thing is so powerful. And that's why this really is a top-down approach for us. Let's start with the central nervous system. Let's help it get back to balance and let the body take care of itself.
I mean, Jay, I am such a fan, because when I first heard about this, I just thought there were ingredients, and I get real kind of itchy around what are the ingredients that I'm putting on my body. And when I realized that there's no ingredients on this, and yes, I know about the central nervous system, but I've never thought about the way that our skin receptors are talking to our brain, talking to our central nervous system, and actually helping us get that balance. I'm like, it is, I kept saying, the first time I met you, I'm like, what is this magic voodoo thing that I'm putting on my body? I love that we're talking about the holistic approach to health. But Dr. Anna, I need you, because you're my girl, I need you to help me really understand the science behind this, because this nutritionist gets the concept of what I put into my body matters, but how is all of this impacting my health? And I need to hear from you, because I trust you.
Well, this is the beauty of how God made us, right? This is why the world around you is just so amazing. There is more to you than you think there is. We are electronic charges. We have a vibrational rate about us. And everything in your environment that touches your skin, that you hear, that you see, does impact your health. And so the nervous system is in charge, and it does work with the gut. The two are connected. So the inside of your body is run by the vagus nerve, which is connected to your brain. And then your skin feeds in all the time that there's going to be a little bit of biofeedbacks. This is how you know where you are at all times. And so I love the concept of hacking into the electrical supply. This is like going into a computer and just sort of programming a computer. It's the way the electrical supply of your body works. That's what this is tapping into, which is why I find it so fascinating. It's good stuff.
The best analogy I had is like Braille for the body. Like Jay draws an 8 on my arm. How do we know you're an 8? Now, Herbert, go to the Mark cam. You know, when we go here, and this is where we have, if you go here, this is the Liberty Super Patch. I just love the colors. And then this is the Braille. It's this little patch. And Jay, what I love about it is it's all about systems. And we know, when I first met you with the story about my wife, Abby, and the challenges she's had and the science behind this. And so many people, you eat a hamburger and it just gets metabolized and no one questions that. But you put a patch on and they're all, what's going on? Like, this is the science of the body. That's why we do it. So I open this patch, super easy. I go like this, and I can put it anywhere, right? Jay, walk me through the Braille on the Liberty patch.
It's real simple, Mark. What you're putting against your skin is a textured patch. It has a very precise, very complex pattern of ridges, right? Like Braille. But what we figured out is how to stimulate the skin to correct those programs in our brain, right? So just like our skin can read Braille, just like it can read any sensation, our skin actually has superpowers of perception and sensation, and it's sending billions and billions of bits of information to our mind. We just figured out how to send very precise information that puts our autonomic system into balance. And all of a sudden, these amazing things start to happen. So we don't need any supplements in it. We don't need any chemicals in it. We don't need a battery in it. We're using our skin superpower to help our brain reset.
Dr. Anna, just when you think about from the point of the central nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, give us the rundown of how those systems work in the body, because what this patch does is it taps into that. Give us the down and dirty on those two systems.
All right. Well, the autonomic nervous system works automatically. You have no control over it. And it's really the most rudimentary way by which the body sort of lives. You don't have to think about breathing. You do not have to think about getting nervous when an intruder comes into your home. These things happen instantly. You've got a parasympathetic, that's the run away, the dinosaurs after me. And then you've got the parasympathetic. So you got the sympathetic, dinosaur, parasympathetic means the rest and digest. So in rest and digest mode is when you're calm and you're relaxed, and that is when your body is healing itself. When you're in the sympathetic, holy cow, the dinosaur's after me, that gets all the cortisol response going. It gets all your nerves aflame. You can only handle that sympathetic response for so long, and sometimes you got to cut the signal. Now, if you're really good at meditation, you can sit down and do some meditation. Most of us aren't. I'm going to reach for the patch. If that's what cuts off, that's awesome.
I'm reaching for
How
the
many
patch.
patches
We
can I
just
put on
made
me?
it.
That's what I can say. I'm like, can I put on more than one?
You can put them
Is there
all
a
on.
I tell you.
Can I just
Wait till we talk.
Listen, Carrie Napoleon.
All the way down my arm, Jay.
You're going to look like international postage. You're going to have like all these stamps on you. We're going to put you,
I'll take 'em.
send you anywhere.
I will take every one of those patches on every limb. I'm taking them.
So we got a lot more shows to do with Jay and talking about the different patches, but this is what the show was all about. We exposed the myths of low carb, of keto, of intermittent fasting. We talked about how it's actually about balancing your blood sugar, physiological homeostasis. And then we talked about the neurological homeostasis. And as you balance your blood sugar, super patch, this simple thing, Braille for your body, actually unlocking, reprogramming your body to what it's meant to be. JD, thank you so much, as always, for coming on the show. You know what you mean to me, brother. Dr. Anna, it doesn't get better. You are the best digestive surgeon in the world, and Carrie Napoli.
So sweet.
Come on. JD. Okay,
hey, Mark,
1%
I gotta see you
coaching.
both real soon.
Okay.
Carrie, Mark, Dr. Ed, I can't wait to see you all in person real soon. We're gonna change the world together. This is amazing.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
My patches all over my arm.
Yes.
Okay. So wait, so 1%. We got 3 1%. So we all watch it. 1%. Number one. Let go of those dieting myths. We already exposed them. Number 2, start balancing your blood sugar. Carrie talked about the meals she's eating. Number 3, put on a Liberty patch. Start reprogramming your body. Neurological homeostasis. NIL's nutrition is all about you getting 1% better every day. See you the next show. Bye.